Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So basically today we will be discussing regarding data center virtualization. That's what we will be talking about, and we will also discuss how AI and machine learning can help the administrators or the IT engineers to automate things in the data center virtualization. I have prepared this agenda. This is going to be what we will be discussing today. We will start from the introduction, that what is data center virtualization. We will also talk about the key components of data center virtualization, and then there is some demo session in today's session. So we will also be covering that how data center virtualization actually works. And then the last two topics would be related to AI-driven data center management and machine learning techniques for performance monitoring. So that's what we are going to discuss today. I will start from my introduction. My name is Kashif Ali and I belong to District Bunair, which is a district in Pakistan, KP province. Currently, I'm working with Zones is an inside solution architect specifically dedicated for virtualization technologies. I started my career from training. So I have 12 years of training experience and I have also 12-year plus industry experience as well. Uh, I'm teaching Microsoft technologies, system administration, VMware technologies, and I also started delivering training on cloud computing, especially on AWS uh, technology. And uh, pray for me because I am going to attempt AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional exam tomorrow, inshallah. So I have exam tomorrow, so I will be also taking that exam. So let's see, hope for the best. Because of my contribution to the community, VMware gave me uh, 4 time a recognition of VMware vExpert, and I'm also applying this year as well. So hopefully they will give me the VMware vExpert 2025 recognition as well, inshallah. And regarding that, I have some other certification, 40 plus international certification, which includes CCNA and some of the Lenovo certification, Microsoft certification. So that's my introduction. I wish I could also give you some time to introduce yourself, but majority of you already introduced uh, uh, themselves in the chat box. So I will make a note of that, and then hopefully we can connect in future as well. So before we start, what is data center? So data center means server room, right? So data center is a physical facility that organizations use to house their critical application and data. So this session is going to be interactive session. So in between, I may pick someone and I ask him to unmute yourself and just answer me. So stay active. Uh, so do you have any idea regarding data center? Anyone? Just if you can post it in the chat, that would be good. That what is your uh, thoughts regarding data center? What is data center? Any idea? And have you worked on the data center? I believe Mirza already worked. So in majority of the other participants are students. So after this session, at least they will get the idea that what is data center, why data center is important for a company, right? So a data center is a physical room, building, or facility that houses IT infrastructure for building, running, and delivering application and services. And the key components of a data center includes routers, switches, firewalls, storage systems, servers, and application delivery controllers. So I have many friends who are basically a data center experts. They and I'm in my company. I'm also a part of the data center team, and where we have a storage experts. We have also a team, a resource dedicated for firewalls, for backups technology. So all these things consist complete the data center. So I can see some answers in the chat box as well. So that's good. Usama Rashid, Fawad Azam, and Muhammad Abbas. So yep, and Akbar mentioned that Chat GPT spotted. So that's good actually. I think there is no harm in using Chat GPT. We should use it for uh, easy searching. So this is how data center physical infrastructure looks like, right? And one more thing, this is just a high level overview. I mean, we are not going to discuss all the things like what is iSCSI storage, NFS storage, and fiber channel storage. So I'm not going to explain these things in details, but in the last, right, I have something for you people where you can start your learning, or you can start your virtualization journey from that. So at the end of the session, I will share some relevant resources, and I will also give you a link for a free online training which you can enroll yourself and you can start your journey in the virtualization world, right? So this is how data center with physical architecture infrastructure looks like. We have servers. On top of the servers, we have application operating system installed. We have application installed. I think this is simple thing. I think you all are familiar with that. You all have a laptop. In your laptop, you have operating system installed, right? And you have application installed on your laptop. So just like your laptop, we have some server hardwares. So if you don't know what is server hardware, you can search about it after this session. That in organizations they have hardware. Server hardware includes maximum RAM. Like in your laptop, let's say you have 16 GB of RAM, but in server hardware, maybe they have 256 GB RAM, right? Maybe they have 128 GB RAM, right? So those are powerful machines as compared to our personal machines because on these machines they have installed server operating system on which we can run some services. Services mean web service, file service, right? Email server, DNS, DHCP. So these are different services, right? Which a company needs for their businesses. And I think if you notice that in today's world, in current situation, if you see many organization relies on businesses relies on their applications. So we need to have a specific infrastructure where we can host our applications, right? So welcome to virtual infrastructure. In virtual infrastructure, we still need a physical machines, physical servers, but we install a special type of operating system or a special type of software which we can call a hypervisor. And then on top of that hypervisor, we can create virtual machines. And in the previous lecture, in the previous slide, there were, I think, 8 physical servers, but now we have total 3 physical servers. And using virtualization technology, we are able to share the resources of these servers with different virtual machines. We can make a cluster of these. So let's say each server includes 128 GB RAM. So 128 GB multiplied by 3 is equal to, I'm very bad at math, so you can calculate it. So this will be the resource pool. So we can make a resource pool. We can combine the physical resources and then we can share among different virtual machines, right? So this is the benefit of virtualization, that we can optimize the resource utilization. In this slide, if you see here, this is before virtualization. Before virtualization means we have hardwares, right? And we have email services running, right? So only 30% utilization. And I did my MS research in the virtualization technology, and I was reading a research paper, and there I saw that uh, in the research paper, one of the author mentioned that the average utilization of resources in the data center is 15 to 25%. 15 to 25% is the average utilization of our resources. So let me make it simple for you people. Can you just post it in the chat box that uh, your current laptop specification? Let me start from my laptop. So this is my machine, right? I have go to task manager of your laptop, and if possible, just take a screenshot of your resource utilization, right? And as you can see here in my laptop, I have 16 GB of RAM, but current utilization is 85%. And my CPU utilization is 86%, which is very bad actually. But because I have many services running in my laptop, which is why that is more than 50%. But in your case, if you calculate the average utilization of your laptop RAM, it would be like less than 50%, right? So what if you have server hardware in the data center, right? And that server hardware includes 128 GB of RAM, and on top of that, you have installed server 2025, for example, and you have Active Directory domain services running on that server. So maybe the utilization of your machine is, let's say, 8 GB RAM. Sorry, right? So that is what I also read in the research paper, that if normally the physical data center resource utilization are 15 to 25%. And I can see Anwar also posted that his current RAM utilization is 30%. Uh, yep, I can see some details here. Mr.
No, तो किया कि नहीं जो पूछ रहे आपने
Okay, I think Usman, you forgot to unmute yourself, mute yourself. Okay, thank you guys. I can see some results, right? So thank you. Right, you can get the idea. Like I can see this is the screenshot from Mr. Shehbaz. So currently his RAM utilization is how much? 60%, right? Okay, so let's say uh, normally what if you have 128 GB RAM in your laptop or your hardware and you are only utilizing 30%, right? But the reason you have 128 GB RAM, sometimes you need to run heavy applications, but not all the time, right? So virtualization can help you optimize your resource utilization, right? So what you can do, uh, On top of your hardware, you can install hypervisor, and then you can create virtual machine and you can run multiple virtual applications. So let's say if this application needs 20 GB RAM, so this is the responsibility of hypervisor. Let's say today this machine needs 20 GB RAM, maybe tomorrow this machine only need 12 GB RAM. So hypervisor will only provide the resources which are required for that application. So let's say we have total 128 GB RAM on our machine, right? Hypervisor will share the resources. And the good thing is we will discuss in the last that what let's say if you have 128 GB RAM and all these machine needs more resources, so we do have features available where you can move this machine from one host to another host. So let me show you here. This is the benefit. Let's say you have 128 GB RAM here and 128 GB RAM here. But this machine, this on this server, there is less workload, right? The resources utilization is less than this host. So we do have features available where you can migrate or move some of the virtual machines or application from this hardware, from this host to this one. Uh, one more thing, let me explain. Moving forward, if I say host in my topic and my lecture, if I say host, it means I'm talking about the physical server on which hypervisor is installed. And if I say guest, so guest mean virtual machine, right? So I think it should be clear now. So I will be using host and guest term moving forward because these are the terms we use in virtualization technology. Okay, I will pass for a while, which I do in my sessions. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I'm also going to pause the lecture for a while, resume my recording. I got 3 questions in the break time. One from Mr. Hasnain. He asked me that can hypervisor be installed on our systems? Yes. Let me explain it in the next slides. The other question is from Mr. Fawad regarding traditional and virtualization difference. Basically, in traditional architecture, right, if you have server hardware or then on top of the hardware, you directly install operating system. But in virtualization world, we do not install operating system directly on the hardware, right? But we first install hypervisor on the hardware and then we create virtual machine and then install operating system. And why is that? So that we can run multiple virtual machine on the same hardware. So that we can run multiple operating system on the same hardware. That is what the difference between traditional and virtualization is. And there is a slide. And if I start talking about the difference between traditional and virtualization, so we can discuss it furthermore, but that is the simple answer for you. What is cluster, Usama? It's too early now so that I can explain it, but let me explain it in a while and then we will move forward. Basically, in VMware technology, cluster mean that if you have 3 physical servers, you can combine them by creating cluster. When you create a cluster of these 3 servers, you can create a resource pool. Resource pool mean if you have 64 GB RAM in each server, so 64 multiplied by 3. So you can combine the RAM, the CPU of these 3 servers, right? That is cluster means. Another question is from Mr. Ahmed. You have 3 hosts. Does that mean you need 3 hypervisor? Yes. Three hosts mean you need three different physical hardwares. Hardware 1, hardware 2, hardware 3, and on each hardware you will install hypervisor, right? Okay, Anwar, I will answer your question in the next slides. Sajad, I think you have only, you did not mention 100%. You just mentioned VM usage 100%. I'm not getting you. Mirza, I will answer your question as well in the next slide. Mirza question is regarding high availability. So we do have a slide in high availability. So once I go to that portion, we can discuss it. But yes, your answer is yes, Mirza. Okay, data center virtualization is a technology that allow businesses to optimize their data center by creating virtual versions of their physical infrastructure. As we discussed in the previous slides that, uh, yes, I will share the slide as well. So we discussed in the previous slide that what is data center, what are the components of data center. So when you virtualize those components, that is called data center virtualization, right? And because this session is specifically designed for the VMware technology, so I would now start the VMware technology introduction. What is VMware? It is a company, right? And what is vSphere? It is a product name, just like Microsoft is a company, right? And Office is a product. So Office is a product name and Microsoft is a company name. So VMware is a company name and vSphere is a product name. Just like in MS Office, we have MS Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, right? Right? So that. And by the way, if you have any Microsoft Office expert in the audience, just connect with me after the session. I have opportunity for you. Someone contacted me from the US that they need a trainer for MS Office. So do not share your CV here. Just ping me personally. Okay. So MS Office. So that is a suite. So just like Microsoft Office, VMware vSphere is also a suite which include two components. One is called ESXi. ESXi is the hypervisor, and the other one is called vCenter Server. That is basically the management tool, right? Any question in this slide, guys? One more thing. Let me show you something. Uh, if you want to do practice on this, vSphere is a product name. vSphere is a product name, right? A software name. Okay. I just log into one of my lab and you can see here. If you want to test this thing, you can log into VMware HL. You can write VMware HL, right? Just like this. Once you write this, you can log in. If you don't have an account, you can create one for free, right? Once you log in here, on the left side, you can scroll down and you can select vSphere because we are here for vSphere. Then you can scroll down and there is a lab which is called Virtualization 101. So let me share the link here, right? Once you do that, you can click enroll. Once you enroll yourself, then you can start the lab. It is totally free. Once you log in here, then on the right side, there is a manual. You can click next, next, next like this. And then what is virtualization? You can read here, you can download the picture. That is it. See the answer for uh, one of the students' question. I think Fawad asked me that question, so this is answer the answer. You can read all these things. Then you can play with this lab. You can open the browser, and this is the interface of the ESXi hypervisor, right? And if you want to know that how you can install this product, I do have some of my lectures uploaded on the YouTube channel. You can go there and you can watch that, or maybe you can learn from this lab. So let me log into vCenter server here. So this is the introduction of this. So as we discussed, vSphere, it is a product which include ESXi. So this is ESXi hypervisor, you can see here. And this is vCenter server. So here you can see I have ESXi 1 and 2, which we can manage from a single dashboard. So vCenter server is the administration tool to manage multiple ESXi hosts, right? So if you have 3 server hardwares, and on each server hardware you have installed ESXi hypervisor, right? So instead of logging into each server hardware individually like this, you can manage all the 3 from a single dashboard, and which is called vCenter server. So I hope I explained it very well, that what is vSphere and what is uh, the components of vSphere, ESXi hypervisor, and vCenter server, right? What is hypervisor? So hypervisor is basically, it could be a software. In this case, as you can see here, we have, let's say this is your laptop and you have Windows 10 or 11 installed, and on top of your Windows 10 or 11, or maybe Linux, or maybe Mac operating system, you have installed hypervisor, and we can call it type 2 hypervisor. And on this scenario, you can see here, we have hardware and we install hypervisor directly. In this case, we can call it operating system and type 1 hypervisor. So if someone asks you what is hypervisor, you can say that this is basically a software, right? Or a layer of software or operating system which virtualize our physical machines. And if they ask you what is what are the types of hypervisor, you can simply let them know that type 1 hypervisor and type 2 hypervisor. In VMware, we have ESXi, that is type 1 hypervisor, and in VMware we have VMware Workstation, Fusion. These are type 2 hypervisor. And I think some of you have already installed VMware Workstation on your machines, right? And this is the answer of Hasnain question. Hasnain asked me that, uh, can we install hypervisor on our own laptop? Yes, you can install it. Type 2 hypervisor is your uh, option. So in organizations, people are using this type of hypervisor because they have server hardware and they install hypervisor directly on the hardware. And then for personal use, right, you may need to install type 2 hypervisor and then you can run virtual machines. Let's say if you are a university student and you need to install Linux operating system, but on your machine you have Windows installed, you don't need to delete the current operating system. You can just install hypervisor and then create a VM, install Linux operating system, and install your tools and uh, cover your university topic, right? So that is the story. And as we discussed, that there are 2 types of hypervisor, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 hypervisor runs directly on the host hardware, while Type 2 hypervisor runs on an operating system similar to other computer programs. Right? Okay. Same process in VM want to install Mac operating system. Okay. If you have Mac operating system, if you are a rich guy like Sajad, then you can install VMware Fusion, or maybe you can install Oracle VirtualBox, or maybe you can install Parallel, right? In Type 1 hypervisor, we have Microsoft Hyper-V, Proxmox VE, right? We have Nutanix AHV, right? So these are different types of hypervisor. Did I answer your question? Okay. Another question I have is VMware Fusion is now free? Yes. Uh, Parallel is also a type 2 hypervisor, as per I know, Mr. Arbab, but I will double check. Malik Zararam mentioned that uh, VMware Fusion. So yes, a good news is now you don't need a key for VMware Workstation Pro or VMware Fusion Pro. You can directly download a free version and you can use it. Okay, guys. So types of virtualization. We have server virtualization, we have network virtualization, we have storage virtualization, and desktop. So for server virtualization, the product of VMware is called vSphere, and for network virtualization, they call it NSX. A storage virtualization, we used vSAN. For desktop virtualization, we use Horizon. So these are different products. And today we are only talking about vSphere. That is basically a server virtualization option. So I have completed this training as well, this one as well, this one as well. These are different. I have worked on all of these, but vSphere is basically the topic which we will be discussing today, right? So I think you got the point now that vSphere is a product name which we can use for server virtualization, which include ESXi hypervisor and vCenter server for management. Okay, now why vSphere? Basically, in vSphere we have multiple features like vSphere distributed resource scheduler, right? I forgot to add, I need to update my slide, but let me update it right away because this will be like resource scheduler. So vSphere resource scheduler is our next topic, which we will be talking about. What if you have one, two, three ESXi host, right? And let's say, okay, let me ask you guys. Let's say if you have three hosts, right? And for example, if you have 30 virtual machines, and if I want you to distribute these 30 virtual machine on the three hosts, what will be your uh, how you will do that? Got it. I can see Arbab is very good in mathematics, so he used the same formula, right? Okay, Fawad Azam, are you not getting my question, Mr. Fawad? My question is, if you have three hardwares and you have 30 virtual machines, how you can distribute these 30 virtual machines? So yes, you are right. you can simply divide 30 by 3 and it will be 10. So it means that 10 virtual machines on each host. What if you have database running on one virtual machine, right? And you have web services running on the other virtual machines. So do you think if we look into it as a workload perspective, maybe this is not a good practice. We will be distributing the workload based on the utilization of the virtual machines. Maybe there is some virtual machine which needs more resources as compared to other one. So this is a very difficult task. So maybe you have studied uh, what you can say. Maybe you have studied statistic in your PS degree, and based on the calculation, you can do that. So DRS is your feature for that. You can simply enable vSphere distributed resource scheduler feature, and it will calculate the workload, and it will also calculate the available resources of the servers. And if all the virtual machines are powered off, so when you power on a virtual machine, DRS will be responsible to initially placed that virtual machine, right? And it will also do the load balancing thing. Let's say if all the VMs are running and maybe there is a virtual machine, in this VM virtual machine utilization is more, and this hardware does not have much resources for this VM. So DRS can also migrate VMs when an ESXi host is placed in maintenance mode, or maybe DRS will be migrate that virtual machine if uh, the need of this VM is not fulfilled by this host. So this is what DRS feature does, right? So now I'm going to demonstrate this feature to you guys. As you can see here, this is my lab. Why my lab is very, let me make it a little bit. Not sure why I'm showing this big screen, but maybe I need to reduce the, okay, where is that option available? Maybe I need to, never mind. Okay, got it. So does it looks good now? We have this vCenter server. Let me scroll down. Sorry. I have two hosts, one and two, and I have three virtual machines, but I do have another host available. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add this host as well. So I will copy the URL of this. I do have my basic lectures uploaded on the YouTube channel. So you guys can go through it and you can also build your own lab. This is the ready-made lab. So I will be using that. So I'm going to show you the practical demonstration of DRS feature. So as you can see here, I have host 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I can explain it, Arbab. I will answer your question after a while. Maybe in the lab you will get your answer. So do you see any screen resolution option, guys? I don't want to. Okay, I can see three host, right? And I want you to demonstrate this DRS feature, right? So how DRS work. I'm going to power off all the virtual machine just for testing purpose so that I can actually show you that how DRS works, right? I do have a specific lecture uploaded for DRS, right? But this is how DRS feature works. And this is also an example of AI or machine learning. Basically, uh, you train the machine, right? And how DRS decide this? Basically, when you enable DRS feature on your cluster, right? So each VM has its score. So if a virtual machine score is near to, okay, this is your, got it. I am going to check this. Sorry, I'm going to make it a little smaller again. Here looks like, okay, 67 is good. Okay, so I'm going to add another host for the cluster. What is cluster? Cluster, we discussed that. Cluster is basically a combination when you combine multiple hosts, right? And you create a cluster to to create a pool of the resources. And what I'm doing right now, you can close your eyes and you can ignore it for a while, but because we have to discuss only DRS feature, so okay, what you want me to, okay, cluster. Cluster means when you combine multiple ESXi hosts, right, to create a cluster. Let's say in simple word, if you have roommates in your hostel and each member has, for example, 8 GB RAM in the laptop, you can place these all the three laptops and you can create a cluster. So the total RAM would be 24 GB RAM, right? Adding hardware together. Yep. But not physically. It's not like that you need a rope that you will uh, make them together. You just need a feature, right? Yep. I'm going to show you here. Look at here. If I click this host, this is one of the server hardware. And if I click the summary tab, I can see how much RAM it has. It has 6 GB of RAM. But if I click on the cluster, this is the cluster. And if I see here, it's showing 18 GB RAM, right? So this cluster has 18 GB RAM because 1, 2, 3. These are the three virtual machines. You can ignore these three virtual machines, right? Just ignore them, but these are the three virtual machines. I'm going to enable DRS feature right now. So you can simply go to configure tab of the cluster and then you can click edit and you can enable vSphere DRS. And we have two options available. One is called partially automated, manual automated, and fully automated. Let me explain these three options. If you remember, I explained that DRS has two functions. One is called initial placement of virtual machine, and the other is called migration of the virtual machine, right, from one host to another host. So when you select manual option, for initial placement and migration, you will get recommendation, but as an administrator, you will do that task manually. But if you select partially automated initial placement recommendation and action will be performed by DRS feature, but for migration, you will get recommendation. But if you select fully automated, then both functions will be performed automatically by DRS. So for learning purpose, if I select manual option, right, if I select manual and if I click OK, it means that I will get recommendation from DRS. Now, let's start from this virtual machine. This is my virtual machine, Tiny Linux, or maybe Windows 10 is understandable to you guys. And if I right click on this virtual machine, and if I click power on, and now you can see we get a recommendation from DRS. The first recommendation is ES6i3. They want me to run this virtual machine here. So let's go for this recommendation. And if I click OK, right? Now you can see here, if you select ES6i3, and if you go to VMs tab, then you can see that Windows 10 is running here, right? On ES6i3. And if you click Tiny Linux 2, if you click power on, for 2 they suggested ES6i1, so I will go for this one. And if you click Tiny Linux 1, maybe the first recommendation is 2 because they want to distribute the workload. That is it. And let me also change the automation level to fully automated. So you can simply automate thing, fully automated. And what is the best function then? If you want to create more virtual machine, you can click new virtual machine. You can click next, give it a name. For example, test VM. You don't need to select a specific host, but just select the cluster. You can just select the cluster, that's it. DRS will decide where to create that virtual machine, right? You can select the storage, which storage you want. I think let me select ES6i1 for now. Why I'm not showing the storage option? That is strange. Okay, never mind. I got some issue, but what I can do, I can take a clone of this virtual machine. Clone mean a copy of the virtual machine. So let me create another VM from this VM, test VM, and I can click next, can select the resources. I need to select the, okay. I forgot to select the storage in the previous lab. So I need to select a storage. There are compatibility issues that need your attention. Let me check. Okay, no worries. I can ignore it. And I can click next and I can click finish. How many virtual machine do we have now? We have 4 virtual machine. Let me power on this VM as well. If I power on this VM, right? So that is the DRS headache, that where to host that virtual machine. Test VM is also running on ES6i1. Let me spend some more time here so that at least I can show you. If you go to monitor tab, you can scroll down and here you can see the history of the DRS. See here, place test VM on. So this is how you can check the history. If you go to VM DRS score, Then you can find which VM is healthy and which is not healthy. So this is all the things like uh, Tiny Linux is healthy. Can we? Okay, I have a question from Mr. Arbab. Can we create new VM and any DRS automations? Yep, you can create VM and any DRS. You can create VM without DRS as well, Arbab. This is not something you can do it. I think someone is writing on my. Okay, so let me show you something more. In DRS, you can also create some rule. Let's say, just like in machine learning, you train your device that you need to perform like that. Why we are learning AI and machine learning technologies. Let's say this is a machine, DRS is a machine, which does all the things automatically for you people. But now you want to create a rule, you want to train your machine that I want Tiny Linux and Tiny Linux 2 VMs always be on the same host. If DRS has to migrate Tiny Linux VM from one host to another, Tiny Linux 2 needs to be migrated as well, right? So, what you can do, you can select the cluster, then you can go to Configure tab, and if you scroll down, there is Rule, VM, and Host rules, where you can add those virtual machines. Okay, before creating rules, let me show you. If you select ESXi1, it has test VM running. On ESXi2, we have Tiny Linux and Tiny Linux 2 running. Okay, let me create a rules that I don't want these two virtual machines together because one is my primary machine and the other one is my secondary machine for the same application. So this is not a good practice that these two VMs are hosting on the same host, running on the same host. So I want to create a, a rule for these two virtual machines. I don't want them to be on the same host. So you can go to DRS, cluster configuration setting, you can go to rules, you can add these two virtual machines. One is Tiny Linux and the other one is Tiny Linux 2. These are the two virtual machines. Keep virtual machines separate. And I can say these are my databases and I can click OK. After some time, automatically one of the virtual machine tiny VMs will be migrated to the other host. This is not this is the job of or this is the function of DRS feature, right? And you can also monitor all these things from the monitor tab, and you can go to history, and maybe after some time you can see migrate Tiny Linux 2 from this host to this one. Maybe that is the old history. You can refresh it, and after some time you will see the new data. So that is what DRS does, right? Okay, will it disturb the running functionality of VM while migrating? Okay, that's a good question. Basically, DRS performs vMotion automatically, and vMotion means live migration. Live migration means if you are running something on the virtual machine, that is not going to be disturbed, right? So that is the benefit of uh, the DRS or the vMotion feature. So I wanted to explain more about DRS, but we still have another topic to discuss. So I will move forward to my next feature, which is called high availability. What is high availability in general term? High availability means if you have one hardware running an application, right? And you purchase another hardware for that same application, just in case if this hardware goes down, so at least you have another hardware available, right? Any other one? Okay, and the last I will ask you to take a group selfie as well, because this is the start of the 2025, so I want you to prepare yourself in the last session. So that is like going to be a memory that we have attended this workshop, the first online session. Okay, high availability. So what is high availability? As you can see here, how many hosts we have currently? We have ESXi1, we have ESXi2 and 3 hosts, and we have these virtual machines, right? So let me power on all the virtual machine. Okay. So what is high availability? If you have Windows 10 running on one host, and if that host is down, let me check it now. You can see here, Windows 10 is currently running on ES6i3. So you can go to cluster level, you can go to configure tab, you can use vSphere DRS and high availability together. So let me power on high availability feature. You can power it on like this. Host failure response. If the hardware fail, they will restart the VMs. So that's fine. You can click OK. It will take some time because in high availability, we need some details, right? And the good thing is, if you don't know about DRS feature and if you don't know about high availability feature, on the right side, you can scroll down. I think you can find your notes here. You can see understanding vSphere high availability. You can click here. And then you can read all these notes and they will guide you how to enable this feature, how to work on this feature so you can learn it, right? That is the story. Okay. So we just enable high availability, but I need to confirm something. So which is why I will wait for a while. In the meantime, if you have anything to say, you can say it. Basically, I need to, okay, look at here. It's still under process. So we need to wait here. Okay, right. Just wait for a while. In the meantime, I believe, is it done? Okay, nope, it's not done yet. Mirza, I respect your question, but this is something it would be like, okay, let's discuss what Mirza asked me. Basically, how high availability works. In the backend, the process is still running, but in the meantime, we can discuss it. How actually it works. Basically, when you enable high availability, right, on the cluster, it's a cluster level feature. The good practice is that you should have 3 hosts, right? You can also enable high availability for minimum two hosts, but this is not a good practice. The good practice is 3 hosts. So when you enable high availability, right, for 4 hosts, let's say these are the 4 hosts, if you have environment, an agent is installed on each host, and then the election process is started. that who is going to be the master node and who is going to be the secondary or slave host. Yep, agent, right? Like who will be deciding? Like if there, how it will monitor the environment, that which host is healthy, which is not healthy, what is the cause. High availability gives us multiple protection level. One protection level is if your hardware goes down, high availability will restart the virtual machine on the other host. That is one protection level. The other protection level is if you have virtual machine running on the host, but there is an issue on the operating system level, still high availability will perform action and it will restart the virtual machine. And maybe you guys will be uh, thinking that restart means that there will be a downtime. Yes, but if you do not want a downtime for in high availability, then we have another feature in VMware, vSphere, which is called FT. FT means fault tolerance. Fault tolerance means if you, let's say, if you have this virtual machine running, this is Windows 10, right? So Windows 10 virtual machine is running, right? You can simply enable FT for this Windows 10 virtual machine. When you enable it, a copy of this Windows 10 will be created on the other host, and that will be a shadow copy. So if something happens to the host on which when primary VM is running, immediately within seconds, the secondary VM will become active and another secondary VM will be created on the other host, right? But this is just a home lab. This is not an actual lab. So you might face some issues while you are practicing on that lab, but still you guys can learn a lot. So this is high availability. You can enable high availability and then you can check it. How you will check it? You can simply right click on one of the hosts and you can just restart it or shut down it. So once you shut down one of the hosts, the VMs running on that host will be available on the remaining host, right? So, Mr. Arbab, it will be created or powered on. Basically, in FT, what happens? Let me explain it. If you have one host, ESXi host, and you have another host, and you have VM running here, when you enable FT for this VM, another VM will be created here. The same copy of this VM will be available here. And whatever you are running here, also it will be running here on the real time. So the disadvantage of this scenario is that if this VM needs 12 GB RAM, the same 12 GB RAM will be minus from this host as well. So you need double resources. But again, you also need that your application should work or should be available 24 by 7. Yes, you can consider it as a backup strategy as well, right? So I hope you learned something new. If you want to connect with me, I think all of majority are connected with me already. So I'm available on LinkedIn. Maybe I can copy that LinkedIn and at least after 2 minutes, we are going to take a selfie. So you can post it on the LinkedIn and with some notes and some screenshot if you have taken that you have attended this session and you have learned something regarding VMware HL. And this is what I want you to start, right? Let me post it here. And you click on this link. Let me right click here and let me open this. This is a free training. a 12 hours training or maybe 10 hours training from where you can start your virtualization journey. The second thing would be VMware HL. And the most important thing is I'm also starting a new batch of VMware vSphere 8, which is a 40 hours training, right? VMware, when you write VMware certifications, let me write here. When you click certification, this is the training, data center virtualization, which I'm going to start next Saturday. And this is the training that is called VMware vSphere install, configure, and manage. You can find the course content there. This is basically a 40 hours training. So we will be covering this, we will be completing this training in 10 weekends, 4 hours each weekend. So 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday, which on this training you will learn how to, you will learn from the basic to big advanced level, right? We will start from installing the hypervisor and basic things. So this is another. And if you do not want my training, you can still log into cloud and virtualization concept training, right? And you can start your journey. And I do have some material available on my YouTube. You can watch it there. So I'm going to stop the